Grok 4.3 just shipped with what Elon's team is calling permissive guardrails, and it's fundamentally changing what AI is allowed to say. Now, before you think this is just another AI safety debate, hear me out, because this isn't about whether guardrails are good or bad. This is about what happens when one of the biggest AI labs in the world decides to loosen the rules in a very specific way, and what that signals about where the entire industry is heading. Let me back up for a second. If you've used ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, or pretty much any modern large language model, you've run into guardrails. These are the invisible rules built into the model that make it refuse certain requests. Ask ChatGPT to help you hack a bank, and it says no. Ask Claude to write code that steals data, and it politely declines. These aren't bugs, they're features. They're safety mechanisms designed by the companies to prevent misuse. But here's the thing about guardrails. They're not one-size-fits-all. Different companies draw the line in different places. OpenAI is pretty strict. Anthropic is careful but more nuanced. And then there's Elon's XAI with Grok, which has historically marketed itself as the anti-woke AI, the model that won't refuse you out of an abundance of caution. Grok 4.3 takes that philosophy and codifies it into something called permissive guardrails. And this is where it gets interesting. Permissive guardrails don't mean no guardrails. They mean guardrails that are explicitly designed to say yes more often. The system is trained to engage with requests that other models would refuse, especially around sensitive topics like politics, misinformation, illegal activities, and controversial ideas. Now, XAI's argument is straightforward. If you're building a general-purpose AI assistant, you should trust users to make their own decisions. Why should an AI refuse to explain how something works just because it could theoretically be misused? Why should it refuse to engage with controversial political ideas? Why should it decline to role-play or explore hypotheticals? Their position is that overcautious guardrails are actually a form of censorship. They limit what information you can access and what conversations you can have. And I get it. There's a real tension here. If every AI model refuses the same things, then as an information consumer, you're getting a narrower view of what's possible. If you want to understand a dangerous idea, shouldn't an AI be able to explain it to you? If you want to explore a controversial topic, shouldn't you be able to have that conversation? But, and this is a big but, permissive guardrails come with serious downstream effects that we're only beginning to understand. Here's the first one. Capability creep toward harmful outputs. When you train a model to say yes to more requests, you're not just making it more helpful. You're also making it more likely to generate content that's misleading, dangerous, or outright false. A model that's willing to role-play illegal scenarios is also more likely to accidentally provide instructions that could be used for harm. A model that engages with misinformation claims without strong pushback might spread them. The second effect is normalization. Right now, if you ask ChatGPT or Claude to do something they consider unsafe, the refusal itself sends a signal. This is a boundary. But if Grok says yes to the same request, it normalizes the idea that this isn't actually a boundary. It's just a choice some companies made. And once one major AI lab makes that choice, others face pressure to do the same. If Grok becomes more useful because it's more permissive, then OpenAI and Anthropic lose market share unless they loosen their own guardrails. You get a race to the bottom. The third effect is asymmetry in who benefits. Permissive guardrails sound democratic. They give users more freedom. But in practice, they benefit people who want to use AI for things that other models refuse. That includes researchers, sure. But it also includes people trying to generate misinformation at scale, people trying to build tools for harassment, people trying to optimize for engagement on conspiracy theories. The guardrails don't just protect against accidents. They protect against intentional misuse by sophisticated actors. Now, here's what XAI would say to that. We have other safety measures. We log requests. We monitor for abuse. We can update the model if we see it being weaponized. And sure, those things are true. But they're all reactive. They all assume you catch the problem after it starts. And in the age of AI, the scale of potential misuse is orders of magnitude larger than it used to be. There's also a deeper philosophical question here, which is, who decides what's true? Because permissive guardrails aren't just about saying yes to more requests. They're about saying yes to more claims that other companies would fact-check or contextualize. If you ask Grok 4.3 about a conspiracy theory, It might engage with it more directly than Claude would. It might explain the theory without as much pushback. And for someone who doesn't have strong critical thinking skills, that can be genuinely misleading. So what does this mean for you? Here's the practical part. First, if you're using Grok, you should be aware that it's making different trade-offs than other models. It's optimizing for engagement and user freedom over caution. That's not inherently bad. It might be exactly what you want. But you should know that you're getting a different set of guardrails, not no guardrails. Second, this is a sign that the industry is fragmenting. We're not moving toward a single standard for AI safety. We're moving toward a landscape where different companies make very different choices, and users have to navigate that complexity. That's actually kind of healthy in some ways. It means there's competition and diversity. But it also means the burden is on you to understand what each model is optimized for. Third, and this is the bigger picture, permissive guardrails are probably not the end state. As more people use Grok and as the model gets deployed in more contexts, we'll start to see the actual consequences of these design choices. We'll see cases where the permissiveness led to real-world harm. We'll see cases where misinformation spread because the model was too willing to engage. And when that happens, we'll probably see a correction, either from XAI themselves, or from regulation, or from users switching to more cautious models. The reason this matters is that right now, we're in a critical window where these fundamental design choices are being made. How guardrails work, how loose or tight they should be, who gets to decide what's safe. These aren't just technical questions. They're questions about what kind of AI ecosystem we're going to live in. And the choices being made now by companies like XAI are going to ripple through the entire industry. So here's my take. Permissive guardrails aren't a conspiracy. They're a deliberate design choice based on a specific philosophy about user freedom and trust. That philosophy has real merit, but it also has real costs, and I think it's worth understanding both sides before you decide which model you want to rely on. If you want to actually keep up with these kinds of shifts in how AI is being built, the stuff that matters but doesn't make headlines, subscribe. I break down one of these every few days. And this is the kind of context that'll help you navigate the AI landscape without getting lost in the hype.